So I find Mournblade to be a very, very interesting champion, a very, very interesting Godtear champion that plays a little bit differently than the others in terms of a champion actively going out and killing, slaying other champions, being aggressive with Mournblade, almost to the point where it feels like he should be colored red, like he's a slayer. But he doesn't have the alpha of a slayer, and he doesn't generate those points. And actually, given his ability to plant and manipulate banners and follow up on that +1, I'm glad he's not a slayer, because then he wouldn't have those abilities. It's kind of like I get 70 or 80% of the slayer alpha damage, but at the same time, the +1 support planting the banner, that's, at the end of the phase, that's big. That's big. So it's a very, very interesting bite. So let's talk about some tactica. Let's build some checklist. And as always, ask ourselves, the narrative, the visuals. Like, I want to play all the warbands. But in terms of player personality and synergy, how do they work in? Is this a unit? Is this a warband? Is this a champion that we want to play? So that is not a misprint. What I like to do with a new warband is pull out the cards, look at the stats, look at the synergies. And on a side note, when you play a new warband, you need, whether it's 1-on-1 or 3 or higher, you need like 4 or 5, 6 games of just trying it out, trying out the synergies, seeing how they interlock, seeing the player personality. So the first time you play Mournblade, you're like, he's got 1 heart, he's got 1 life. Gonna fire off an email to Steam and just see, like, can I get an updated card? Is there a misprint? No, he has 1 life. I guess it's that undead energy is just coursing through him. But it's the specific champion rule that tweaks this and makes it very, very, very interesting. So generally speaking, the evade of the champions and their armor make them a little bit harder to hit. Not that they're immune. Anytime you roll legendary, whether it's minions or a champion, you can't defeat a legendary roll. But given the breakdown of 4 to 5 to hit and to cause damage before we see how much armor subtracts on average, the champions can absorb a lot, with the exception of maybe Sneaky Pete and a few that have like super jacked out, evade as their primary defense. So that 1 wound is not as bad as you think. When you get killed, it's only worth 1 point. So unless it's a slayer killing you, then it's worth 2. So essentially, it's Mournblade works as a minion, but has the hitting power and the banner claiming power of a champion. That's interesting. Okay, so when you get hit as a champion, though, you might get moved, but then you have to burn one of your activations to res up, to clear the wounds and get back up. He has the special rule with the Undying where anytime an enemy, doesn't say champion, doesn't say, the semantics are very important. Anytime an enemy is knocked out, you get a free res, like you're back up. And the question here is, when do you pop that off? When do you choose to activate that? So if we're we're in the clash phase and Mournblade goes and he punks you and I get some points. You punk Mournblade, he goes down, you get the point. If you kill him, so then another one of my units, I like Jean, maybe I'm playing Jean, she hits 2. She kills. I don't want to res then. You want to pace your kills so you res at the end. Or if you're playing a warband that in the movement phase could kill, you could stay down. You could stay dead. You win when it's your turn to activate, attack in that movement phase if you have a champion that can do it. I'm thinking like Jean, Titus. Then, you killed an enemy. Bam, you're up. So surprisingly, when you pop that off, it's like he gets back up and you're only potentially losing 1 point. That is some interesting synergy and can be highly annoying if you can, it's all perspective, highly annoying of the when and where to pull it off. Now, he also has the ability to manipulate and plant his banner far off in a distance. That makes him kind of a midfield, where we have outside of life or death missions where you have God tiers on two sides. If you can get him dominating on one point, then he could, in theory, shift, move, work with his other minions, and then shift and plant that flag. It has tremendous tactical reach. The challenge is he cannot be in two places at once, even with the reach of planting his banner. So, we see something like, just as comparison, Half Tusk, where he can plant, camp, one fist, two fist, Froglotites kind of hanging out, essentially area control, dominating on objectives and Godtears. Mournblade can do that by planting. But at the same time, I want to get Mournblade up there, smashing. He kind of plays like Gene wants to play. I mean, he's not the hard hitting of a Slayer, but he's got bite, he's got alpha, he's got some spice, he's got some flavor hitting. He's got that undead flavor. So I can't be both places. I mean, I can bounce back and forth a little bit, but what that means is you might not be able to be in both places during the battle, but in warband composition and selecting your warband, you can play, if you're playing multiples, 3, 4, or a custom of higher, just for the lulls. If you're a little bit weak in one area, Mournblade could pull in the other area. His minions, they're pretty straightforward. They've got a couple of unique abilities in terms of spawning and resurrection. They move a little bit faster than you think. I play them kind of just standard. There's nothing really super outstanding with them, but Mournblade himself, a lot of potential, a lot of synergy. It's the question of giving up that one point. Target priority, I should say, if you get into the mix or someone's playing multiple Slayers or even a potent Slayer like Rangosh or Sneaky Pete, if I'm going to give up that point, if they're going to punk Mournblade and they're going to kill him, they're going to give up the point, +1 or +2 if they're a Slayer champion, then he needs to at least be planting the flag every turn. I mean, that's kind of true of all the champions. So I've got +4 there. And then he needs to be 100% hitting, taking out at least a follower, ganging up on followers because he has good attack with the Soul Blade. That's going to be a point there. And then if the banner is still up, using the skeletons to block Godtear's area control, if that banner's still up, I get a +1 point. So at a minimum, he should be earning +6 a turn. Minimum +6 a turn.